The following is a Productions original series.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Vincent, joined by Addie Rich.
That would be me.
There you go. And our podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of the disability community. I'm a polio survivor.
And I'm a CP kid from the gut.
That's her story. She's sticking to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how was your week? I know you were
Oh my God.
doing big girl stuff.
I was doing big girl stuff. I was doing math. I was seeing people. I was, staying up late like a big girl too.
So what do we call it? Is it not a convention? It's a...
No, I mean, it was a work retreat in a way.
There we go, yeah.
I guess I would call it a work retreat because it was like offsite of none of us have an office. We're the most remote team owned by that parent company.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really necessary to bring us all together. We did they don't like to say merger, but I don't really know what we're supposed to call it. Back about 1 year ago, but we had never met like the people that joined us. I'd never met the new big bosses because some organization shift was done and bosses took new slots. So really,
everybody pretty much works remotely. So, I mean, you know them, yes. Phone calls and
Teams. We
like
do,
that.
Video chats. And there is a ton of interaction. So it's not like we live in silos, but it's not the same as like reaching out and touching somebody. And I had known my original team. So I've been with the company for 3 years. And my original team, which is 2 young ladies and then another one who was originally our boss, who now works for National. We've been together at conferences twice. So we've seen each other twice before, but we had the new people in the fold and obviously the new boss for the West and for the entire U.S. Came. So it was really a coming together of those of us that do, pricing and rebating and things for this company. And
so I know you guys all worked very hard. Mm-hmm. But we don't care about that. Did you manage to have any fun at all?
Secrets stay where they are.
Yeah.
But yes, cards were played, drinks were had, fun was made. It was also very interesting though because there was a blind convention, a guide dog and blind convention at the same hotel.
Wow.
So I have seen like so many service dogs in one place. It was almost like if I wanted an education about what kind of service dogs are best, you could have walked in the lobby on Thursday or Friday and seen tons of them at work.
So did you get some guests?
Well,
No. You were preoccupied.
It was very interesting to watch the interaction actually from people because some of the blind people would be ordering breakfast. And obviously the staff at the hotel was not used to blind people because they were just like, well, what do you want to eat? And they're like, I can't see the menu. Yeah. So it was very interesting to see people have to adapt that don't normally adapt. I naturally just pick up the menu and start reading to them because I get it that they can't pick it if they don't know what's there.
So whereas they were getting a crash course in adaptation.
Yeah. Well, and some younger people, you could tell that it just wasn't. People aren't trying to be rude. They just don't know. They take for granted stuff, So it was very interesting, trying to shepherd people to the correct meeting room because there's no braille and they don't know where they are in the hotel. Mm-hmm. So, it was kind of lovely to stand back on the wall and say, if people are ignorant by non-exposure, how does this go?
Yeah. Now, were they there the whole week too?
Just Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. So probably by the end of that 2 days, they kind of had a better understanding of what was going on.
Oh, for sure.
The service,
for sure. Yeah. And they had very few sighted people with them in the group. So, dude, you have to adapt. You have to help. I was like, what's the irony in this whole thing that I'm seeing, you know what I mean? I'm experiencing this as the only disabled person who was there for us. And then now here's the sea of disabled people. And it's we way outnumber all of that.
Yeah. And you probably, without really thinking about it, were quite a role model for your colleagues in helping.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that was part of the week. I think part of like me adapting, because I always joke that I'm an introvert and you beg to differ, but going to a place where the big bosses have never seen me, they know of me.
And how did that go? I know you were apprehensive.
Oh yeah, I was super trepidatious about it. It was fine. It was fine. By the end of the week, they were making some jokes, which I allowed them to make, which was perfectly fine. And I told them, like, if you're not making that joke by the end of the week, then we're not friends.
Yeah.
So, and you know, booze lubricates people.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, the social lubricant. Very good.
But I mean, I loved it. It was fine. The first night, the first 30, 40 minutes was real uncomfortable because, I mean, separate of being different, there's so many ins and outs that we've kind of talked about privately, just with the company changing and like, no, do we have a job? Do we not have a job? What's our job? So literally our bigger boss was really good. The first full day we were together, he had designed like this ginormous spreadsheet saying what he thought each of us did and what he expected each of us to do. And then asking us to become a backup for each other. So it's literally written on paper that like, if so-and-so's out, so-and-so's doing it. And that for the nerd in me who needs the stability, bravo.
I think more companies could do that.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's clear.
Yeah.
That he invested
what we
time
talked
in
about a lot, places that I've worked, but nobody ever implemented it.
Yes.
You know, nobody
And
ever took that, that initiative to actually put it into action. You know, and it really has to come from the top. You know, people at the bottom
we
can do
spent
it all
like
day.
almost 4 hours doing it.
Yeah. So he's serious about it.
So I
That's
left
great.
there knowing that I was a person and I'm not worried for my job.
Yeah, good. Good.
Yeah. How was your week?
It was good. Where do I start? But I will start at the top. Brian Bushway, who was a guest a few months ago, and we've been talking, and I think I've mentioned it a few times here. He did make it to one of the Rolling Starts wheelchair support groups, and he kind of wanted to present what we've been talking about, which is just about relationships and that navigating interpersonal relationships with the disability. But it's all principles that I think anybody can use. But we wanted to get a specific perspective from people with a disability and what are their concerns, what kinds of experiences they've had and running into it. So, all we had to do was kind of lay out what we've been talking about.
Right.
And it just, everybody just took over,
It blossomed into.
Yeah, everybody had different viewpoints. And so I think we've moved ourselves ahead quite a bit because the end goal is to have, at the very least, one podcast that talks about it, and maybe even separate from Rock and Roll Live, maybe a separate that talks about this topic, and it might be a series. And I'm leaning that way. I just think there's so much information to cover in the topic that it will be longer than
1
that.
hour is remiss. Yeah.
Yeah, and different parts of it, and getting experts. Have to hunt down experts to have on, because I'm sure we're not inventing the wheel here. There's other people.
We are not.
Yeah. So we want to find those people and have them engaged and see where it goes. So looking forward to doing more with that. Our anniversary.
Yes.
Not you and I, but the show.
Right? Don't scare people. No.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Absolutely.
Like they sing at your table.
It is 2 years, give or take. I know it was around third week of May 2023 when we got started. So it's somewhere in there is our big anniversary.
That's amazing. And it's almost a year for me. If we count from when my episode aired to when I decided to be your permanent pain in the butt, it'll be
because it was June, right?
Yeah. Well, I think my episode was made. Well, we recorded in May, so I think it was maybe June when it dropped.
Yeah.
But
I think back then we were pretty much doing it. We recorded the interview that day and did the opening close, and that would have been Eric and I. Happy anniversary, Eric! And
happy anniversary!
Yeah, but I want to give us a big round of applause. Yay us! Yay,
Yay us! Go team, go! Go team, go!
Yeah.
Doug's baby and labor of love is 2 years old.
Yes, and going strong. And and the other thing is, and this is I put this last because it's just petty, but I don't know, maybe not petty, but there's observations I've had for the last few years actually, but there's just, first of all, I started noticing it in the area of traffic and traffic control.
Okay.
You know, I traveled, you know, we've talked about home, San Luis Obispo.
Yeah.
You know, and I lived a number of years there after moving away after I was born. Follow that one. But I remember just being there one time, and there's all these different lines that they paint. I don't know how it is in your area, but they've got these green lines for bike lanes and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But what I noticed is I was coming home and I had time, so I stopped in my old haunts in Santa Barbara. I kind of drove through town, and, you know, and then stopped in Carpinteria, which is south of Santa Barbara in California. And what I noticed is every town was different in the lines that they painted, the way they controlled traffic, you know, different colors of this, that, and the other. And I thought, you know, and this is definitely the old cogitating man coming out in me, but I'm thinking across these fruited plains of our great country, lines were white and yellow, hash marks were all the same no matter where you went. You could get in a car in California and drive to New York, and the traffic lights were green.
Yeah.
Say it with me, everybody. Yellow and red.
Yeah.
And now there are traffic lights that have 5 lights on them.
Yeah.
You know, there's a green turn light and that turns to flashing yellow. So you're supposed to interpret that going 50 miles an hour and make sure you don't hit each other. You know, and we were doing that with 3 choices. Now, would common sense say 5 choices all of a sudden when you're going 50 miles an hour is going to reduce the accidents or increase it? I'm no math wizard, but yeah, I think I got that figured out.
So even in New York.
But wherever you went, you know what the route. Now it's like city to city. You have to try to figure out as you're going along. Never seeing it before. Try to figure out, you know, what you're supposed to do where.
What does this mean? Yeah, I hate here in Atlanta they have reverse lanes, and I hate.
Oh, that sounds like that's a good idea.
No, it's horrible because it'll be like certain times, like they flip or close. So one direction, you know, in the mornings you'll be going, I guess, away from me, and then in the afternoon to kind of give an extra lane for coming home, it'll go the other way. And I'm always like, somebody's going to get murdered because if the signal goes the wrong way, or people just are brain farting because they're thinking of something else, you literally are like baiting head-on collisions.
Head-on collisions. So the person who brought that up, that bright idea at a meeting, I don't know if I'm more angry at that person or the group that didn't laugh him off.
Good idea.
Yeah. You know, wow, that tops it. Good job.
Yeah. And there's one of them by a school, which I hate. It's a hill and a school. And I'm always like, this is just, you should call it Murder Hill.
Yeah. So, you know, I get into all that because that's not even the thing that's got me going this week.
Uh-oh. Okay.
We have 3 cans for garbage. We got one for
like
garbage.
Recycling.
Yeah, recycling and yard waste.
Yes.
Green waste. Okay. They leave these things on my garbage cans. I tell you, I don't know what they were trying to tell me. I literally do not what they were. Oh, it's time for trash can inspections now. It's mandated, blah, blah, blah.
What?
And there's this whole list of your trash cans, and they're different colors. And there's these check marks. And I don't know if they handed it to their 3-year-old kids and said, put some check marks on this and circle a couple of things. Because the things they circled don't have anything to do with the things they checked. and I don't know if they're telling me that I put the wrong thing in the wrong. I mean, I put the recycled thing in the recycle.
Yeah.
I don't put anything in the green waste because my gardener takes care of all that.
I was going to say,
I can't even get to it where it's in the yard. He puts it down by the street, and the garbage company puts it back at the side of the house when they're done with it. So if he put something in there besides green waste, I don't know. But, you know, but they want me to bag they said they want you to bag your food waste.
Okay.
Well, everything's in a bag. I don't know what they're talking about. Do they want me to put a bag within a bag? Because I have a garbage bag that I put all the garbage in.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. No. But I don't know. Is this a new development though? Like this wasn't
well, it's been
before.
let's say it's been a development in make. I know it's coming. I've heard about it. You know, I think they sent a flyer now, but now evidently they're going to start enforcing it. But this thing that they put on it doesn't clear anything up. It only. So I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. You know.
Yeah,
sorry to rant here, ladies and gentlemen. You know.
When you retire, you too can wonder.
You have all the time in the world to worry about this is stupid crap.
Something to look forward to.
That's right.
You're channeling my dad. You're channeling Dad.
I like I say, you know, you get to this age and I hear things coming out of my mouth and I go, okay, sorry, I'm an old man. Yeah, I admit it.
Well,
I have not said get off my lawn yet, but.
Oh, yeah. Maybe when I'm down for the visit, we'll just yell, get off the lawn.
Yeah, I'm working up to it.
All right. We did it.
We've got a young man named Atif Moon that's coming on today. He, you know, like all of them, I mean, they're just, you know, every story just seems to have some new twist that it's hard to kind of wrap your head around, but he'll be here and he's overcome it. He's thrived. He's an athlete and so much more. So we're going to talk with him today on Walk and Roll Live, and it's all brought to you by Ugyar Professional Training.
At Ugyar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. Ugyar is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with Ugyar Professional Training and witness the growth of your business.
From the Ugyar Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
We're not here for your sympathy, we're here to take our place. We're carving paths, we're building dreams, we're running life's great race. Don't raise us up on fragile words or call us brave for just being. We want a world that's fair and true, not bound by what you're seeing. Yeah, don't set us apart, don't hold us back. We're here to shine, to stay on track. Judge us by effort, heart, and skill, not by your pity or goodwill. We walk and roll, we climb, we fight, we light our way, we claim our rights. Not your hero.
Welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. Let's start with our introduction of our guest today. I want you to just give us briefly your name, your disability, and where you're from.
Okay, my name is Atif Moon. My disability is spinal cord injury. At the T10 level, I was diagnosed with a tumor in the spinal cord. That's how, when I was born, that's how I became paralyzed. And I'm from Torrance, California.
Well, welcome to the show. Addie is here as well.
I am.
I'm
here. Reporting for duty.
Well, I spent years and years in radio, and one of the things that we did, and what's one of the highlights of everything that I got to do was do radiothons for different organizations, and we did them for a big hospital here near where I live, the Loma Linda, health they've got just every type of health thing going on over there. But we would always do it for what they called Floor 4800, and that's where all the pediatric kids were, cancer and all of that stuff. And one of the things I never could wrap my mind around was there would be these cases of babies born with cancer. And in my mind, up until that point, I always thought of cancer as something you got because you drank too much coffee or whatever it was that week that they were saying gave you coffee, some kind of, or cancer, something that, you did over the course of your life and it caused the cells to kind of go wacky. So you're one of those kids.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I think it was at 6 weeks, when I was about 6 weeks or so, they had pneumonia and they took me to the hospital. My parents took me and they realized there was a tumor in the spinal cord. And it was a late stage cancer, and fortunately, the doctors worked together to save my life. And I did 3 surgeries. They did chemo, radiation, and fortunately, I survived. But unfortunately, the other part was there was damage done to the spinal cord, so that's how I became paralyzed from the waist down. So that's where about the T10 level is, and I'm what's called complete, meaning I have no sensation at all underneath.
Yeah.
So
That's another thing, Addie. We'll tell you. We do these stories every week, and many of the stories we've told are SCIs, spinal cord injuries, but it never ceases to amaze me how different the stories can be. You kind of just think it's going to be, a swimming pool accident or a motorcycle or rock climbing, and there's been so many that have been and I would have never guessed in a million years, probably. So you fall into the categories kind of like, well, definitely Addie and me, a year old, when we became disabled. So you've grown up with nothing different.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was born this way, so I don't know any different, right? Like,
yeah.
People go, don't you miss? And I'm like, how could I miss it? I never knew it.
Yeah.
I miss it by watching you drive, but I don't miss it because I've never driven and then it got taken away from me.
People have asked me, isn't it odd to drive with your hands? And I'm like, well, I've never done it any other way, so it's not odd to me. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because like us, we're always born like this and dealt with it. But then, and I thought that was like when I was growing up, I didn't realize there were people that would get injured in the middle of their life and then became paralyzed. I thought you would just be paralyzed from, I was a little kid, so I didn't understand. So,
and like you either show up this way or you don't get it.
Yeah. So when I started meeting people, like most of the people now I met are like different, accidents, and I feel like both ways that we have our own sets of challenges, or where they always were walking, and all of a sudden, boom, they can't walk anymore, and they have to adjust to life and figure out what to do and navigate. And I'm sure it's mentally tough, and but for us, like who grew up with it, you still feel different and out of place, and that's kind of how I felt. I felt still out of place because I was like a minority in my schools. I was in a wheelchair, and not many people were, and it was hard for me. Like I was really shy. It was hard for me to make friends and things like that.
Right, but, pick a reason to feel weird, right? Like
yeah, exactly.
We don't get the choice. We drew the weird card like from the get-go, right? So we have to be the one to like smooth over social situations and things. Doug and I talk about that a lot because we don't get a choice. You cannot be a wallflower because you are the burning thumb in the middle of the room,
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Whether you like it or not, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you feel, best you can, how do you feel it shaped your life? I mean, you don't know any different. So, but how do you think it shaped your life?
Well, as I mentioned, it was really hard. Like I struggled growing up and feeling out of place. And for a long time, I was like, I want to walk. We tried different things so I can try to walk, maybe like stimulation. Like we go to a hospital in the East Coast and try to stimulate my legs to see if anything could be, fixed to like try to walk, because I thought that was the way to feel normal. Mm-hmm. But as I was growing up, I realized, there's no normal, like it's okay. Like being in a wheelchair is just part of my identity. And by getting involved in different activities. So, I'm very fortunate. My parents got me involved in different activities as soon as when I was little. They didn't want me to just sit at home and do nothing. So they would put me in different activities. Like they got me like a mini racing chair so I could just go at the beach or do these little races. Kung Fu, where the person running, was in a wheelchair and he was a black belt. So that was pretty cool. And then, of course, tennis. And tennis is the sport I really fell in love with. But that's where I really found, and like I'm sure a lot of other people have been injured or were born with a disability, they found their community that way, where I just met a lot of people that look like me and I felt like I could relate to. And And I was always the youngest at a lot of these tennis events, tournaments, and different clinics or camps or practices. And I was super shy. I didn't say much, but everyone would come try to talk to me and just teach me different things. And that's how I really learned. Like my parents would try to get people to hang out with me, just like come to our house, just to show me, the ropes, so to speak, of like what it's like to be disabled, because I didn't understand how that worked. I didn't know like driving was a possibility, or I can get a job, or I can do this and that. And that kind of helped me understand that there's nothing wrong with being in a wheelchair, and I can be independent and just do anything else. And that's kind of led me to where I am today. But it was a long journey to kind of realize that. And as I keep reflecting, that's kind of when I feel grateful.
How did your parents, like, obviously it's stunning that their child that they thought had pneumonia has so much more of a complex situation going on that will be extended. It's not, I'll give you these pills and see you in 2 weeks, right? How long did that kind of recovery and process take? Like, how old were you when they would say, okay, you're in remission, but now here's the next hurdle?
Well, I don't even know. I was a baby, so I'm sure they told me, but I'm sure it took like a year or so to like kind of get through. I know they had to do all this treatment, and I think I couldn't even have water, and they would like put me on like down and like put a tube. I don't know. They did all these different things, and that I can't imagine how hard it was for them. Of course, I don't remember anything except from the pictures I have. But,
Bravo. Same.
But
There's a lot of stuff where I'm like, ooh, I'm so glad I don't remember.
Yeah, but for them, I'm sure it's so difficult. But when I see the pictures, it showed how I was still like positive at that time. Like I was pretty happy baby, fortunately, and I was able to get through it okay. And
that's awesome.
But yeah, like I'm lucky that I was able to fight the cancer. But
oh, for sure. Step one down, you're like, hey, you're not winning. I'm here for something.
But also, like some of the stuff I hear, like other people said, the doctors were fortunately pretty negative. They're like, oh, I think my dad would always tell me, they're like, oh, you're not going to be able to sit. You won't even be able to sit, or do
Yeah, seems to be a lot of that for some reason.
I hear that from other people too. It's just it's frustrating that.
Good thing you're so little that you can't be polluted by their bad attitude, right?
Yeah,
like, that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And with your parents being so smart to like put you in activities and connect you with people that were different, like how did they adapt? Because did they have someone in their community before that was like that, or they're just incredible researchers, or they just don't take?
I don't think they really knew anyone disabled, but I think they just did their research. They just found like different places to put me in, like just tried to get me in different activities.
That's right.
I went to I've tried everything, like these sports camps and
so did you go to public school for your whole career? Or?
I did. I went to, I think maybe the first couple, I think I did go to public school, but then I was more in like special education classes, at least like kindergarten and first grade. And then, but I think I remember the second grade is when I went to school, and I stayed at that school all through elementary. That was like, I felt like I was more part of everyone else. But a story I like to share is they used to put me in an adaptive PE program, and I just was annoyed that I was separate from like people I knew, like friends. And so finally I spoke up. I said something to my parents to talk to the school, and like, why can't I just be in the regular PE with everyone else? And fortunately they let me do that, and I was able to adapt. Like the one example I use is like the mile. They go on the grass on the soccer field, but I can just push around the blacktop. So there's ways to adjust. And
so you would spend your day in just the what I call mainstream class, and then you would go to special ed PE.
Well, that's what they had me do, but then by speaking up, then that's when I was able to get into like the regular PE class.
So, just so I'll tell you a little story so you have context. And part of the reason I'm asking is because we had a school where it was all disabled kids.
Oh, okay.
There were no typical kids in the school up until I was in fifth graders when I first went to public school, regular public school. And there were no programs. There were no programs or anything for, for our parents to even put us in. My brother and I, we both had polio as youngsters. And, we would dream of, some contraption. We know we could come up with something where we could pedal the bike with our hands, because there was nothing like that. But we were dreaming of it, but didn't have, as kids, didn't know how to weld or do any of that stuff. But we knew that was possible. And slowly but surely.
Part of that group,
Well, there was no group.
Doug is the group. Doug is making the group.
Yeah. So, so as life went on, we were probably well into adulthood before, like my brother knew somebody, he lived up north. Yeah. He said, there's this guy that built and we went and saw it when I went up to visit, and this wasn't like you went to the, some store and they had different hand cycles you could buy. This guy was building it out of a,
nice.
It was like from Back to the Future, and him just putting this contraption together.
He's Doc.
Well, awesome,
man. But you adapt. You talk about adapting. So when I was in junior high, and it kind of surprised me years later when I really started getting back into the disabled community that we hadn't come further in a lot of ways, especially in school. Where they would have special ed classes, they had one fix for everybody's disability, basically, it seemed like. And so, we would play football, we play flag football, and, just me and the kids without the teacher getting involved or anything, we would just came up with an adaptive way that I could play, so I'd run out for a pass. I was walking on crutches back then. I could run out for a pass, or what I called running. And, and they'd throw the ball to me and I just reach my crutch up. And if I hit the ball with my crutch, everybody understood I have the ball now. And then I would run and they would all swarm around me and take, but I was able to play in the game, and all of those things. So it's, when I hear stories, all these years later and we, kind of still having to figure these things out, it doesn't seem like it needs to be that complex, where we should be treated all the same.
Exactly.
And
let us adapt.
Yeah, that's true.
Give it to the kids; they'll figure it out.
Yeah, like I was gonna
say, no, you're not to do it that way.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, kids are very creative, so
and that's what we did around
their own games and things like that.
Yes,
so it makes sense.
That's what we did around the neighborhood. My brother was an avid basketball player. He was really the sports guy: basketball, baseball, football. They all the neighborhood kids and my brother played that. And I wasn't the athletic kind of guy, so I didn't get involved as much, but they would figure out like scoring ways. My brother would play basketball with his buddy. They'd be out there for hours. Well, they just came up with a scoring system. I think it was, every basket he made was 3 points and his buddies was 1. And that kind of leveled the playing field, and they had competitive scoring games, So
that's cool.
Do the same thing with baseball or football. He'd sit on the ground and pitch as good as the other guy standing up. Yeah. So anyway,
awesome.
So when did
that's
you?
Good they were including him and letting him play.
Yeah, never gave it a second thought. My thing was I was more into kind of mechanical things and. So
we're the nerds. You're just the nerds. I'm like, give me a book and leave me alone.
Yeah. So I got a go-kart from my uncle, and and it looked like he pulled it out of behind a barn or something. I stripped it all down and painted it. We got an engine for it, and and I figured out some way to finagle you hitting the gas. Didn't use the brake a lot because that didn't work for me. But who needs brakes? That's for sissies. But anyway, so how did you, kind of really find that tennis was your sport and you knew you had maybe something special?
I think because, first when I was young, wheelchair tennis was really big in Southern California. There's so many different practices, a lot of tournaments all over in different cities. There's just a lot of players at the time, and it was just easy to take me. And I think I just started enjoying it. I wasn't good when I started. I could barely do anything. I couldn't even win a game maybe. And it took quite a while to even win matches. I think when I was young, I would maybe win a match by default. Maybe someone didn't show up or something in a small division, and I would get trophies. But But yeah, like I just started getting better. I had good like mentors and coaches that were willing to work with me, and just they know I enjoyed it. And I also, the other big part of it was just the community. Like I've known a lot of these players, like for me, I've been around, I've been playing since I was 8 now, over 30 years, I'm almost 40. And so like,
Yeah, you guys have grown up together, right?
yeah, like, and so I've just met amazing people that way. And I've learned just not about like tennis, but like about life. And like I mentioned, like how people drive and like transfer, even like all those
Yeah.
little things I don't know how to do, or jumping a curb. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what guided me to that. And then I just would enjoy the sport, just being on the court. Like now I say, like, it's my happy place, even though it could be frustrating. But when I'm on the court, I don't think about anything else outside of that.
Yeah.
And I love the exercise involved, and just in my tennis chair, being able to move around on the court. And there's just something about it. And I think it's mentally tough, physically tough, because tennis is one of the rare sports that, well, now there's some coaching like involved in the matches, but generally you're not allowed to be coached while you're playing. So like you
Right.
got to figure things out on your own.
It's like chess. It's
Yeah.
full speed chess with no helpers, right? But
Yeah.
now you don't get trophies just for showing up, because I hear you're kind of good.
Thanks. Yeah. I had to work my way up, but yeah.
Yeah. You might be a little better than the participation trophy level.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how that happened?
Yeah, I went through like different coaches I was playing, and I did win my first tournament, I think after like 6 years in a local tournament in 1998. And that's kind of what propelled me to kind of get better. And I had a few coaches here and there, but it was around 2005 we decided, my dad had an idea, why don't we approach this one coach, his name is Anthony Lar. Fortunately, he passed away over like I think almost 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, unfortunately. But he was a former Paralympian, and he was huge in the tennis community, and he had a lot of success. So I ended up approaching him, and he ended up working with me, and he really helped me helped me improve my game to the level where I am today, because I didn't know how to push that well on the court, hit a good backhand. Just he taught me so many different things about like the technique and technical aspect, but also like just strategy, and then just like getting around or navigating how to travel to tournaments. I traveled to my first out-of-state tournament in 2006, which is all brand new. I didn't know how I travel with my tennis chair, my equipment, and all that stuff. That was all new to me. So he really showed me like how it worked, and
That's amazing.
it's pretty stressful. But
Oh God, I can
I'm
imagine.
obviously, yeah, now I'm like an expert of what to look for, but it's still like frustrating because
So in other words, you're going to have to be him to somebody else. If you have to pay it forward and be like,
yeah, I'd like
you
to.
do.
I mean, for sure. Like I've done some coaching, like at
Yeah.
Triumph, like event I was helping as a coach, but
Neat.
yeah, eventually if I want to definitely pass on my knowledge about the sport just because I love
Like
it.
you say, even if it's coordinating to get your stuff there, that I'm an anxious traveler and I'm not playing tennis. So I understand when I'm like, oh my
Yeah, I
God, do I
get
have my walker? Do I have my this? Do I have my that?
Exactly. And yeah, and I'm like that too. I'm like, I get anxious about going, and I make sure I get to the airport early, and like
Yeah.
make
Well,
sure I have everything. And
There's people coming up that are watching you, and they're learning
Yeah,
from you,
for
whether
sure.
you are actively being their mentor or not. You're
Yeah.
So
teaching
maybe you
people.
need to make
Trust
a
me.
PDF
Mhm.
of here's what to do, so that even your anxious self, like I'm getting ready to travel for work and I'm already like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, where am I? What time am I getting there? Who cares? I don't even know what time the plane is, but my mind cares, right?
yeah. No, I think I wrote like a blog post about like traveling with my tennis just to a tournament of like, just like the first part of it is just getting everything together and getting to the
Yeah.
airport and getting your, how to check in your chair and all that stuff. And
Neat.
but, yeah.
Just in my limited traveling, I learned, and I'm sure you have a PhD in this, but there are some airlines that do it much better than others. I'll just say that, right? Some you feel very confident in their abilities, and others you feel
Yeah.
like you're kind of teaching them a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't had like one particular airline where it's been worse than, at least for me. Like I feel like everyone I talk to, there's one airline that's they've had issue, and I'm like I haven't had an issue with them, but
You're like, please
um,
don't make that start. Knock on wood. Send the juju into the universe. Don't
yeah,
start it.
yeah, but
So
I
where have you been? Because you go all in North America when you travel?
yeah, like so I went to so I've mainly traveled like US, all over US and Canada, but actually next month I'm planning to go overseas just to try out a couple tournaments. So
Fun. How fun.
yeah, so we're looking to go to Kazakhstan and Portugal.
Ah, I heard
It'll be
Portugal's
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah, so there's like two tournaments in each country. So we're me and a couple of the players, we're all like we don't want to go alone, so and we all want to try overseas. So yeah, so we're gonna try that. It's at the end of
Amazing.
May. So, but yeah, but most of the tournament I travel around the U.S. and Canada,
Okay.
and
So do you have a whole trophy room?
I have some trophies.
I've done
yeah.
all right.
We're
But,
trying to make you
yeah. But yeah,
bashful.
like it's tough. Like I moved up, like because when I was playing, like there's different in the U.S. There's letter divisions. There's like the C division. Actually, there was a D division. So I started in D, then C, then B, then A, and then
Mhm.
Open. Open is like the professional division, which it took me many years to get to that
Yeah,
division.
so the listeners don't know where you are, so you have to tell us. I only know it from a piece of paper. So where are you? You're in the open level.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the open level is like the professional level. So like that's the and I think 2014 or 13 is when I started playing in that division and started going to those tournaments, and that's where you play under the International Tennis Federation, like those tournaments. So you play against a lot of international players from all over the world, and
You-
but yeah, it's definitely tough. And they have people like training 24/7. You have
Yeah.
ones that play like recreationally that just go to the local tournament. And you have some, I'm like more in between, like I train, but as I'm getting older, it's harder. And I'm also managing a business and all that. So it's different, but I feel like I'm still trying to improve, but also just enjoying the competition and just
Right.
going to the tournaments and just having fun and hanging out with, a lot of the players when you travel
That's
and
fun.
Have
just
you ever
hang
been
out.
approached or anybody you know for any kind of like sponsorship deals?
No, I haven't. No, unfortunately, but
I think
I know
there's an
other people
untapped
that
market
have.
there.
Huh?
I think there's an untapped market there for,
Yeah, no, there is. Yeah,
you know,
it's
You need to-
it's definitely something. Yeah,
Use
be
the
more-
use the chat GPT to make some letters. Hey
Yeah,
guys, we're going
seriously.
international. Follow us. You need a
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah.
You need
No,
to get a
it's
little minion, a
definitely.
minion for YouTube for you guys to go overseas. You know what I mean? And like follow it from start to finish.
Oh yeah.
but I'm talking about,
You can pay
know,
me my royalties
I'm
later.
talking about racket manufacturers, things like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
$1 million deals to,
Yeah.
to represent. Yeah. Because,
Yeah.
I've learned over the course of doing this show that, what our financial impact is in the world. We're $1 trillion
Yeah.
Sure.
block
Jeez.
of people,
Yeah.
that have that kind of spending power. And I think we're dismissed and
Yeah.
people don't realize that, in those decision-making positions.
Yeah.
Especially the people who have never had to buy a tennis chair or
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
equipment because they just make it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But there's no
it's
special
expensive.
racket, right? You use the same
No,
racket
no, the
as well.
rackets are the same. Yeah.
So you could represent
that's
just as
the way
well as
that- yeah.
anybody else. Yeah. So let's take a little turn here.
I know. I'm like, there's a ranch.
no,
Squirrel.
we could talk about tennis all day, but
Yeah.
he's got another part to your life.
Yeah.
And you're no slouch. You're president of Bird Tech Industries. Tell us about that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a family business that my dad, we started back in over 30 years ago. So eventually, it's been over 10 years where, well, I would help in like the summers and things like that. But
Yeah.
finally, like I decided to help take over and, or just get more involved. And now I'm kind of at the point where, I'm managing more and taking over, and it's a nice business. We just have a few employees, and it's very like special products. We sell like specialized mats and tapes and things like that geared toward like electronic industry, manufacturing, industrial, and so forth. But yeah, it's actually like, I feel like, kind of like what I learned, like just growing up and just getting confidence from like being out and about and on the tennis court and things like that. It's kind of helped translate to like my life and like being able to manage. I was so scared. Like I remember when my dad like he's like, "Oh, make a phone call." I'm like, I didn't even want.
You're like, I don't do those things. What's
Yeah, I was
the
like so
phone? I
scared to
can't.
like make phone calls and like be proactive with like certain things. And now like and even like managing people later on, it was scary, but like eventually I kind of by being pushed into it, I just like was
Trial
able.
by fire. You're like,
Yeah, and now I'm like, I'd rather just call some of like our suppliers or customers on the phone because I don't want to go back and forth on email.
yeah,
Just to
right.
kind of, it's just easier sometimes. And
Yeah.
so I definitely developed the confidence to be able to manage and, just understand the business and how to deal
That's
with their
amazing.
employees and things like that. So I'm definitely, um, grateful again, like my dad and my parents to kind of push me and, because before I was doing of course I was playing tennis, but I went to UCLA to get a degree in business, and then I was really interested in this. I'm a huge sports fan, like so I was always interested in working in sports. I've done different internships, and then I decided to do grad school to get a master's in sports management at Cal State Long Beach, and so 1 year there, just doing different internships as well, like the Clippers. I interned and like UCLA, like in their sports marketing department, things like that. So I definitely got good experience, and I was hoping to get a job, in the industry like after I graduated, but unfortunately, just didn't work out. And then I had some other health issues, and then I still wanted to play a lot of tennis. So then I kind of realized, if I get a full-time job, it's gonna be hard to like travel and compete. And fortunately, grateful we have the business, so I can add more flexibility, so I can still be at the business, but also have the flexibility to travel and compete.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the direction I ended up going. But I definitely had a lot of invaluable experience, like doing all these different, working for all these other companies and things like that. Which I'm definitely proud of and happy about.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Prepared you for what you're doing now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, first Muslim American named one of the 10 outstanding young Americans. How has that impacted your life?
That was cool. I think I remember because they had like 10 outstanding young Californians, which I was nominated for, and then you win that, and then you can like get nominated for the outstanding young Americans. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was definitely amazing experience just meeting other people like that got the award, and it was one of my first times where I spoke in front of a lot of people. We had to, and when we got received the award, we spoke in front of I think I spoke in front of like 500 people. So that's kind of, and just by getting that award, it kind of, at the time I got a couple other like speaking things to kind of just understand how speaking was and like trying to speaking to other people. And, I did enjoy it at the time, but yeah, no, I think it definitely something I'm proud of. And
Yeah.
I think it definitely helped, like, kind of with just give me confidence in the other achievements.
Right. You're like, I even got an award for this. It's like your trophies for tennis. They
Yeah.
kept you in it, right?
Yeah.
So do you,
Atif got over his shyness, it sounds like.
I know. Little Atif's like,
Yeah.
I'm still just trying to sit over here and you guys keep shoving me.
I think I'm still a little shy at time, but yeah, I think I've definitely changed, like, for sure. Like, I've had to realize to kind of be my dad or be like, you need to be more assertive and kind of, like, you can't let, because, people like kind of, especially for disabled people, kind of like ignore you sometimes or don't. Yeah, or they're condescending and not on purpose, but just the way it is. So
I always say it comes
yeah.
from a good place, but still.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, don't get Doug started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
I
much
know,
time do you have?
But yeah, like it's just like he's like, and other people, my friends and like family, like you got to be more assertive, and when someone, you have to try to speak up for yourself if you need something. And at the time, I was scared. I was like, oh, I would always think that I'm like a burden by asking for maybe like not special treatment, but like getting accessibility even, which should be my right. But at the time, I just thought like it was something that I didn't want to be a burden. But I've learned like now, like there's nothing wrong with speaking up and asking for what you want, because we all need to have same treatment, and we deserve to be able to live equally like everyone else and have the same access as well. So,
It's kind of complex in our mind because there's a part of us that wants to show people I can do this on my own, be independent. But at the same time, there definitely are some accommodations that would make our life easier.
22.
Shouldn't have to try that hard.
Even now as an adult, it's still like, I don't really want to say something, or if it's something I can kind of get around. But definitely, I'm not as afraid to ask compared to before. Like if I need,
I tell you, I'm turning 70 this year. I have embraced it.
Doug will talk for all of us, Atif. We can just stand in the back and Doug will be like, yo, God, we're not with him.
If somebody asks for help now, I'm like, if you're offering, I'm taking it.
But is that because you're an older man? Or
it's definitely. All my days of, trying to, do it myself.
Right. Those days are over.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, but different phase of my life now. So do you still do any motivational speaking?
Yeah. So that's kind of what, last year, that's kind of what I'm trying to get back into.
Yeah.
So I had a short documentary released about my story.
Cool.
Just kind of just summarizing growing up and the things I'm involved in. But, and so I've had a few speaking events and it's something I'm, doing as another career. But it's something as I look back, I'm just so grateful, how many people helped me throughout my life and just kind of taught me, things that I wouldn't know if I didn't meet them and even pushed me. I had some that were non-family that would be a little more, made me, couple made me cry because they're like, you got to let your parents are doing too much for you. You need to be, they're just doing it out of a good place. They want me to be more independent. So those people like that and just others are just so supportive and just making good friends. And I've realized there's still there's a lot of parents that if they have someone disabled, they may not know what to do for their child or the kids.
Or they do too much.
Yeah.
That's the one that.
Yeah, that's doing too much for them as well.
Yeah. And that's a hard one to address. You don't want to make anybody feel bad. You don't want to, make them feel like, they're, oh my gosh, I'm ruining my child. But you have to, give them as much independence as they can achieve, even if it means pushing the limits and failing a little bit. And then you know where your limit is. I'm a big proponent of that.
Exactly. Yeah. But I just think it'd just be nice to kind of just share my knowledge with whoever I can, and even non-disabled. It just in terms of just bringing awareness about.
Yes.
There's still a lot of people that understand disability, and I'll admit there's a lot of different types of disabilities. I'm still learning myself, even at this age, and.
You mean you didn't get the encyclopedia? Oh, please, while I go look that up.
And I want to do my best to be accepting of others as well. But and then also just I've dealt with just my identity as someone in a wheelchair and even young kids. I'd like to speak more to the younger people at schools. I just spoke to high school in February and they're dealing with mental health or identity issues. So even just whether, it's dealing with a disability or not, it could just be any different identity issue they're having. Just someone who can share their story. Yeah. So just sharing my struggles and how I overcame it, I think that can help as well. So, but,
do you have favorite topics that you're ooh, these are kind of my hot topics that I enjoy or,
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think it's more just kind of growing up with a lot of it just struggling with my identity and what I did and talking about my independence. So Doug was mentioning about pushing, trying to find the balance of but I think at some point it was me that wanted to be more independent and that was my goal when I was younger. I was just striving for that. When I was young, I had to wear a back brace for a while because I have scoliosis, and eventually I got surgery to put rods in my back. Unfortunately, it broke 3 times, but I managed through it. But yeah, so finally it was kind of like maybe around high school I started feeling more independent where I could get dressed, and maybe even middle school, I don't know. But and then like living on my own was when I went to UCLA in college,
Yeah.
living in the dorms. And I remember like for a while we're like I was gonna see if I could commute because we weren't sure, like me and my parents weren't sure if I could live on my own, and so like I was trying to find a way to commute, but it's really far. Like at the time I lived in Palos Verdes, which is even further because it's like a 30-minute drive just to the freeway and then go
Right.
further. So, and then we tried to find someone to carpool with. That didn't work. So finally, and I remember when I went on a tour of the campus, the offices for students with disabilities was super nice. They were like, if you ever need anything, let me know. And they also would tell me about the dorms, how accessible, and they can get me an accessible room and all that. And so finally, when all else failed with the community, I'm like, I just told my parents, let me just try to live on my own. And I think it's one of the best things I did. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a blessing in disguise that I couldn't figure out like how to commute and, live at home to go to school. And it was and it wasn't like far enough where if something happened, like it'd be
You
hard.
couldn't have help. Sorry,
Yeah.
you're on the island, Atif. Go figure it out
Exactly.
now.
So yeah, so it worked out well, and like I'm happy like I did it, and
That's
it
awesome.
kind of really taught me to there was just a lot of different things to deal with, like learning how to live on my own there, and navigating it. Like UCL is a huge campus, so navigating the campus to go to my classes and adjusting to college, which is different, and then
Which is hard anyways, no matter who you are. It's like, whoa,
yeah,
I thought I
yeah.
wanted to be by myself.
Yeah, and then just trying to make friends and still trying to play tennis and just so many different things going on. But it was an amazing experience, and I had a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
definitely the disabilities office was very helpful to me and just accommodating me for all these different things that I needed. And
That's how
And
your
as you learn to
confidence
speak up-
builds too.
yeah, so I have like another little story about speaking up. So I would one of the dorms. So there's tennis courts near the dorms that I live in, and I would play there a lot. And so the only way to get there was there were stairs to get the closest way. There were stairs to go up. Otherwise, you'd have to go like around the courts up like the sidewalk on like a little ramp or hill.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was ridiculous. So we wrote a letter to like their compliance department or what, I don't remember the exact. And they eventually built a ramp like right where the stairs were, and so just a lot easier to just access the courts.
You're like, hallelujah, I don't need
Oh,
a
yeah,
three-quarter of a mile commute to get to the
yeah,
step
it was
that I
a
could
pain to go around, but yeah. So instead, I could just go to the ramp here and just kind of cut through instead of going. So yeah, but so like fortunately, speaking up definitely helped. I could have just said nothing and nothing would have happened, but
Right.
I'm sure it probably helped other people.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So
yeah.
anyone who's used that ramp, think of Atif, say thank you.
Yeah.
And
And also like when I do this stuff, obviously it helps me, but it's more like I want to help other people that may not speak up. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people are still scared like to say anything or don't want to cause problems or whatever. But so that's kind of I've tried to learn, like, so wherever I go, I try to say something. Like sometimes it's still hard for me, but like going there when I go to hotels, when I'm traveling, I always say something to them if there's an issue, like, because there's so many things that they say are accessible,
Yes.
but it's not,
oh yes,
but it's more like, it's not really, maybe it's compliant, but it's not logical. That's how I
Right.
see
Right.
it.
right.
The
Relevant.
shower handle is like far from the chair. It's like,
Yes, in the shower. Oh, that's
I might reach it. So
great. I got a roll-in shower, but I can't reach the wand.
So like now as I'm getting older, I've been at the point where I just bring my own shower chair because I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And
I have a cousin that's been in plumbing forever. And I was having this conversation with him. He said, well, now, when you go to a hotel room and they have the wand on a slide bar, they can't do that anymore. They've changed that rule.
Oh, really?
It has to be down so somebody able-bodied can't put it to the top, and then you can't reach it from your chair.
Yeah.
So I don't know, how long it's going to take for it all to catch up, but yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
things are being
Yeah.
addressed. It's just taking time.
Yeah, a lot of them, they're so high up,
Yeah.
and I can either reach it or I have to get someone else to
Get
do
to
it.
somebody. Hey, can
You're
you
like,
mind?
excuse me, come visit with me because this is not.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
Yeah, been there. So if we turn the corner and look ahead to the future, what kind of goals do you have? A vision of what's next? You sound like a guy that, you're not done accomplishing things.
Thanks. Yeah, well, still like trying to compete, in this division as much as I can. Maybe at some point I'll have to slow down or at least maybe play less tournaments um, or just play more like lower division later on. But I want to play tennis forever if I can, just because I love playing. But
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, but also like but like we were talking about, like just giving back with teaching tennis and maybe coaching even more later on.
Nice.
Well, it was great to see you out at the Triumph Foundation's
Yeah, thank
Adaptive
you. Yeah,
Sports
it was
Festival.
Yeah, it was great to meet you, and it's cool, like just coming full circle. Like everyone helped me at these camps, so it's nice to meet people who are like new and just trying different sports. And like for me, like I just want them to have fun, like whether they like the sport or not, or it's hard for them or whatever. But
And I'm sure you've seen the transition, especially if somebody is new, is a new injured, and they think their life's over. They just think
exactly
everything that they dreamed of, whether it be school or kids or family and all of that stuff, and they just think, oh, I'll never work, I'll never do anything, and then that light comes on when they do adaptive sports. They get it. They say. And I think in their mind, if I do this, if I can do this, what else can't I do? What else can I do?
Yeah. It gives you confidence to do other things, like and then again, you like learn a lot from these other people. Like if you start like hanging out with them, or you're gonna start learning about like factors outside of like the sport with like if you travel with the team or things like that, you learn and then just learning about their life stories, you learn so many different things too. And
that's
I
the
love
biggest thing
hearing
for me is
everyone's
the
stories,
social part of it. These events. I love it.
and that's why I do it. Like I had like this weekend, I just had fun like with the coaching, just meeting different people again and hanging out. I was trying a couple sports later on when there was free time, but like just it's fun. Like, and I just meet new people and hear different stories, and I try to get people to try. I see if they live, where they live, they want to play tennis. I'll try to recruit them. Or
You're
but
like,
regardless, but I always just encourage people. I think it's important, like people, especially with being disabled, just to be active.
Yeah.
Because it's just easier to gain weight, but like just having other health issues, being in a wheelchair.
Right.
So it's important just to exercise and
Move what you can so it doesn't
and
break
I go
down.
crazy when I can't. Like I've had different injuries, and like not being able to exercise is so frustrating for
Yeah,
me.
it helps your mental health too.
Yeah, for sure. Like it definitely helps my mental health when I can and exercise and like play. And I get like still even now I get excited. Like I'm gonna go practice tonight. I'm like excited that I'm gonna get to play. Like it doesn't change. I just love to play and just
That's a sign you love it
It's
right
a true
there.
passion.
yeah. But yeah, and then just to add on, like I want to continue doing speaking and like trying to do more events like that. Again, just to keep sharing my story with as many people as I can. See how that goes. But
Nice.
Well, good. Glad we could help
I
you a
think
little
you're
bit.
good at it.
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you. I appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Nice.
definitely.
All right, this is the point in the show where we ask a question every week, but I think we're gonna retire that question for a while, and we're gonna start a new line.
I listened to a couple of your ones, and I heard. I'm like,
Were you ready for it?
Prepared to answer it.
You're ready. Good.
We're gonna throw
of
you-
course we're not going to use it because you thought about it.
We're gonna throw you a curveball then. So I have a whole list of them, but we'll just ask one here, and,
Sure.
and just whatever your thoughts are. But what's your take on the phrase "inspirational" when it's used to describe you just living your life?
Yeah, I think I talked about this with you yesterday a little bit, but yeah, like again, like if they just come up to you without knowing anything about you, I know, like I know it comes from a good place, but it's just we get annoyed by that. It's like, why are we inspiring just because we're just out at the gym or going to the store? Like, it's definitely like frustrating when you hear that. It's like, it's more when like, yeah, if they hear my story and like I have a good conversation with them, they know more about me, then yeah, they can say that, and you can say that about anyone, you know, whether they have a disability or not. Like, if you really get to know them, like, and yeah, then you could say they're inspiring. But if it's just inspiring for living your life, like, I don't think that's right. Like,
I feel like that's like a Mint Mobile commercial or something. Like, if it's that way, right? If everybody was just being followed around with a clapper or somebody who like yeah, you go. So, you know.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, and again, they're all coming from a good place, and maybe it does help them inside. Like, maybe they are inspired, but
yeah, I'd like to see the evidence of the inspiration. You know,
yeah, seriously.
Did you get out there and do any hard work?
But yeah, like, it's just, I mean, it's just like more like if we can shift like that, like that view, and like, you know, they're just hanging out like everyone else. Just talk to them like another person, like, you know, like, you know, ask them about what their work, you know, like if they're at the gym, what are you working on today? Like, stuff like that. Like, it should just be, because we don't, again, like, we don't go to like a random person and say, hey, you're inspiring.
Right. Wouldn't that be weird? You know, got the grocery. I'm going to try that next time I'm at the grocery store.
Let's do it.
Somebody's getting their groceries, and I'm going to say, you know, I just want to let you know, you're really an inspiration to me. And they would be scratching their head as I walked away or rolled away.
Yeah.
You know, but it's okay to say it to us. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's a little separate, but the other thing that I'm sure you guys might get it, like if you're using your wheelchair, like, you know, no speeding or this and that. Like, they slow down.
And what do they say if there's two wheelchairs together?
What?
Are you going to race?
Oh, yeah. It's just like again, they're trying to be funny, but it's like, we hear it so many times. Like,
yeah, all you can do is laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just laugh it off. But yeah, but it's just interesting, like, that makes people say that we wouldn't say back to them. It just makes them see like the disability that they have to say it. But
you know, the other thing is, and I've dealt with it my entire life, and I'm sure, you know, we all have, is that, you know, people want to know what happened. You know, it's the way it usually is posed. The question is, what happened to you?
Yes.
You know, and you know, and if they ask respectfully, I'm fine with answering. But you know, when you really stop and think about it, it's, you know, I wouldn't say that to anybody else. Exactly, I wouldn't. You know. So.
Yeah.
Probably because it gets said to us all the time.
Yeah, and I would answer it too if they want.
Yeah.
Maybe before I didn't really want to, but like, no, I'm fine. Like, I don't mind sharing my story or why I'm disabled.
It's a segue.
Just so they understand, like, you know, it's just being exposed to that as well. So, you know, it might be, especially if it's younger people.
Yeah.
Like, not understanding. Yeah. So, yeah. But, yeah.
The story I always love to tell is when I was a kid, you know, my whole childhood, I heard, you know, mommy, what happened to that boy? And then at some point, probably around 12 or 13, was the first time I heard a little kid say, mommy, what happened to that man? And I'm like, did you hear that? I'm a man. You hear that? I'm a man. I'm at 12 or 13 to hear that. I thought I was something.
You shall address me as such from going forward.
I'm Mr. Vincent to you.
Right? Funny.
Well, thank you. It was good to have you on.
Thanks for having me. He was referred
by Raj, who was on a few months ago. You guys are tennis buddies, right?
Yeah. I met him through tennis, and he's improved a lot. So it's fun. I play with him sometimes, and it's fun. Like, I like how much he's involved, and like, he plays so many different sports and stuff. It's pretty cool. Like, he loves being involved and helping people. He's a good guy.
He helped me learn something about myself yesterday. And that is, I'm horrible at racquetball.
Oh, you want to try that? Yeah,
I could have sworn there was a hole in my racket.
You're like, go, Raj.
I tried tennis once, and I was better at that than I thought I would be. Racket, no, that's
I haven't really tried racquetball. It's definitely different, but it's still like really hand-eye coordination. But
the ball's faster. The ball's coming at you. Well, you know, at least the way I was playing tennis, is faster than that. But it's, it's bouncing off other walls. It spins.
Yeah.
And as it's coming at you, it's changing direction. It's I'm too old for this.
Yeah, it's definitely different for sure.
I can't do any of that. That's part of my CPA depth perception and like coordination of like now. I think I would just be like the circus clown to entertain all of you.
You'd just be a target out there.
Right?
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Thank you for
We'll
your
let
time.
you go.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And, I appreciate what you guys are doing with the podcast. It's like, it's really cool to hear all these different stories and just sharing it with everyone else. And
excellent.
I think it's important to keep doing that.
Well, it's, for me, and I think Addie, I don't want to speak for her, but it's our way of giving back too.
Yeah.
This is just part of
for sure.
what I do. Yeah.
You're definitely giving a lot back by doing this.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ever wish you could tour the world's most enchanting wineries in just 5 minutes? Join Forrest Kelly on the Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast, your passport to quick, captivating journeys through global vineyards. Each week, uncover hidden travel gems, savor expert insights, and collect irresistible wine conversation starters. All in the time it takes to enjoy a glass. Named one of Wealth Magazine's best travel podcasts, it's the perfect pairing for your busy life. Tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or visit thebestwinepodcast.com. The Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast. Sip-sized stories, full-bodied flavor.
Listening to the story, we all know we have no excuse for saying like, oh, poor me for this or that, right? Because he showed up with a difference from the get-go. His family wouldn't accept that it was time for him to go. And then his spirit said, no thanks. And look what he's done with his life. Like, he took his lot and moved on. Not to say that there weren't a bad day, because I mean, obviously that is naive. That's a storybook. But he has just taken it and walked on and used his energy for better and brighter things. And look at everything he's done. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a page so many of us can take from all these stories.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It seems to be, to me, my humble opinion is that a lot of the people that have the most to complain about are the ones that complain the least.
100%.
Yeah. So.
Because I think I will say this about myself, because I cultivate this now as a like cognizant person. But in the beginning, people always said, oh, she's like so friendly and so sunny disposition. It's rarely a bad day for me. Like if it's a bad day, it's a rare day. And like I say, as an older person who now feels like in charge of my feelings and the way I run my life, it's certainly a conscious decision. But I can't say as a young person it was. It's kind of always been imbued in my spirit. And when we meet all these different people, I feel like that's a common thread for us. Like the reason we thrive is because we can see the sunny side of a street, even in a rainstorm.
Yeah. I get that a lot especially when I'm in a position at work where I'm a supervisor. You're too nice.
Yeah.
Like it's a bad thing. They say it like it's a bad
like
thing they're telling
dad.
you. I'm like, well, thank you. There's a way to convey what you want, your expectations of people without being a dick. Sorry.
Yeah.
But,
No, right? Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, before I was ever a boss, that's the conversation that's amongst people. Why does he have to be such a douche or her?
Yeah.
Everybody's pretty universal on they don't like to get treated that way. So how about we try it differently? Yeah. So that's me.
Well, I'm just making a choice in life because we wake up every day. Mm-hmm. Like I always think that like somebody else didn't wake up or somebody else would trade me for this experience to not have theirs. And I think perspective is something that is gifted to us when we are automatically given a different one from the get.
Yeah.
So
and I'm nothing but grateful. I'm not saying there's no bad days.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's
times
the
when I'm in a
proverbial
little
question.
ball.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I think that's a lot of proverbial question we get from people. I don't know about you, but all the time for me. Well, if you didn't have to have CP, would you not? No, I would, because this is me and I like who I am. I mean, yeah, does it piss me off that I can't drive? Certainly. Do I want to wear high heels in the pretty dress and not like Vans because that's what I can get around in? Yes, of course. But do I want to give it away? No.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had anybody specifically ask me that, but I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah. I think I might take a little test drive. I'm curious. Obviously
give us
I'm
the red
curious.
pill or the blue pill for one day,
Yeah.
for a week,
what is it like to walk? What is it?
Yeah.
Stupid. But what's it like to get up and storm out of a room?
True.
I don't know. That dawned on me years and years and years ago. Probably watching something on TV where, somebody's having an argument and then somebody just like gets up and storms out of the room and slams the door.
It's a process for us. Hold on, I'm mad at you.
Even if I could get it down to 30 seconds, it kind of loses its dramatic effect if it takes you 30 seconds.
For sure.
God. All righty. Well, thank you for joining us for our quasi-anniversary episode here.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry we didn't have more drinks and hors d'oeuvres or something, but
right.
We'll work on that for next year. Well, I know we're working on a get-together.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. I'm really excited for it. No, honestly, I think it's going to be great. And I honestly, even going to my work thing, it made me think about that because I'm the recharge that I got and just the sense of peace and comfort of meeting the bigger bosses. And now I'm Addie. I'm not Adeline on the email. I'm Addie, who they spent a week with and who we've made memories. And even if they couldn't keep me at a job, I feel very comfortable that they would find me a job because they see the value in what I would give to somebody, even if they couldn't. I mean, I hope they keep it, but if they can't, I don't have that fear and that small phobia underneath anymore. So I feel like getting the group of us together that have all individually sprinkled our stories into the universe you're creating would be huge.
Oh, it would be fun. It would be a good time. Absolutely.
Working on it.
Good deal. All right. Some new stuff up on the website. Some more events are popping up. I know Triumph has a bunch. I think they're planning one in the San Diego area, which they've never done before. Cool. So we'll keep you posted on that. And they've got a youth event that's up on the website, and one for all. Angel City Sports is having their big one, different location this year. So check that out, and you can just click through and go to the page where you register and all that.
Check it out, people.
Made that easy for you. All right, and if there's anything that you're looking for, resources wise, or you have an event that you'd like to share, we say it all the time, trying to grow this kind of beyond our little circle here in Southern California, which is very full and rich, but would like to expand it beyond that. So help us out.
Help us out and help us out. Do the subscribe, and all those things that have made it come to this 2-year point. We like new friends. We like old friends. We like busy and interactive friends.
And coming up next week, we've got a fun episode for you. It's all about an app that is going to help you find the accessible places around town. And not only around town, but around the country. And I think they're even going to branch out to around the world. So you can leave reviews. You can look before you go to a place and find out. I'm not going to tell you too much. That's coming up next week right here on Walk and Roll Live.
Perfect.
So thank you for listening. I'm your host, Doug Vincent and Addie Rich from the Agyar Professional Training Studio. This has been Walk and Roll Live. Disability Stories, Life Limitless.